And now, Hangar 56 Media presents Spike's Car Radio, a downloadable cars and coffee, hosted by writer, comedian, and automotive enthusiast Spike Feresten. Now, here's Spike.
All right, hi everybody. Here we are on a Wednesday, still alive. Zuckerman's still alive, unfortunately, sitting across from me, already annoying me. We have a terrific show for you. In a minute, the father of the new Bronco, Dave Perikak. Don't laugh, Zuckerman. Dave Perikak, who is the Andreas Pruniger, really, of Ford. He's the Ford icon guy, Ford GT, Mustangs, all sorts of cool stuff. I believe that electric Mach deal, the Mach
E.
The Mach E. I believe he did that. But first, I wanted to dig into this Petrolicious story. Excuse me. Sorry. No allergy shots during the pandemic. I wanted to dig into this Petrolicious story. So we've invited Hannah Elliott here, who's with us now. Hi, Hannah.
Hi.
And she's going to take us through it because I kind of have a glancing knowledge of what happened here. All I kind of know is there's a great site called Petrolicious. If you don't know it, petrolicious.com. I've been featured on it. They shoot cinematic, beautiful car videos as well as selling cars now and merch, high-end kind of car content.
Drive tastefully. Hashtag Drive tastefully was their slogan.
Yeah.
And here's my entry point into this, Zuckerman. You called me at one point and said there's a kid who takes pictures of cars in the Malibu kitchen who noticed, and I don't know if this is true or not, but Hannah's going to tell us, who noticed that the founder of Petrolicious was posting some covertly racist and kind of openly racist stuff on social media.
Okay, I heard, not from a kid who takes pictures at the Malibu kitchen, but I just heard through the grapevine.
I thought someone was DMing you.
Somebody did DM me, and somebody...
But that kid didn't start this whole thing off.
No, I'm not going to say that, but somebody messaged me about it and told me about it.
Go ahead.
And some of it was in the guise of... I have to be careful. Some of it was in the guise of a quick legal consultation, which about laws about libel, slander, defamation, that kind of thing, which I then said, I don't do that. I'm a personal injury lawyer. That's like asking the foot doctor about your brain tumor. I don't know, but I gave some general information, my observations about it. That's how the story came to my attention. And then I said to you, if you heard anything
and
about
I said,
this.
No, I haven't. I go, what are you talking about? And then honestly, I thought, well, that's going to be the end of it because this is the stuff that I read from a very small percentage of my neighbors on the Nextdoor app. These comments that I can't understand that are just tone deaf at this moment. Okay, so here we are. We're at that moment, right?
Was this in June?
This was really just shortly before you called me.
Yes.
So when you became aware of that, this was 2 weeks ago.
Yes. It was right before your article came out, where I had no idea this was going to be that big of a deal, or that, by the way, the car community was going to rise up against it and put this guy's head on a pike.
Within days, the rumor, we started to see the posts were starting to be publicized shortly thereafter. Spike.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
and that was social media started driving the issue. Okay,
that's when things changed because Afshin, who is the founder of Petrolicious, you can go back to 2016 and see that he was posting similar content in 2016 on a private Facebook page. Friends and close acquaintances would see this type of posting, and he identifies as a small government libertarian. So extremely conservative views, which of course is not illegal. And everyone's entitled to their own opinion. It was a private Facebook page. Around the end of June, those posts became more aggressive and targeted specifically toward the Black Lives Matter movement. And that's when you started to see some posts that said, for instance, do black babies' lives matter? Things that are extremely offensive to most people.
Now, in that moment, though, and I'm thinking about, at this moment, I'm watching people on Nextdoor do this all over the place, like nice old ladies and other stuff posting similar comments. You have George Floyd's murder happening.
Right.
You have the world protesting that murder. You have criminals kind of using peaceful protesters to loot and pillage.
Right.
You have police beating protesters, but not really going after the criminals looting.
That's correct.
And then you have a bunch of fearful people, and I would guess mostly fearful white people, old white people going, they're going to come into my house and they're going to come and get me.
Remember,
Yeah.
I think our friend...
Wait, let me just finish. And that's where I noticed, on at least the local social media infrastructure or ecosystem, people started just coming out of getting on their computers and starting to write.
And throwing around terms like domestic terrorism, comparing the BLM to domestic terrorism.
What happens, I think, is that you can get your news or your information or your polemics from certain organizations, from certain media, which will tell you, be careful, they're going to come for you next. Our friend Tucker Carlson said, and as you point out, Spike, it was like a giant buffet of activity. There was activity from good to bad on all sides of the spectrum, and so people could pick and choose what they wanted from this buffet to satisfy what their appetite or their ideological appetite was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of tension.
Yes,
there was a lot of
and it still
tension,
is.
and there were a lot of people writing about it. And again, most people were on the right side of things,
Well-
being like, "Hey, a guy was killed, and the African American community has had enough." Right?
Of course, and I think we should know all of this is exacerbated by the whole pandemic. There's a lot of pent-up
And we're all
stress
home.
that we've all
Exactly.
been sitting at home going crazy, and people who are already inclined to be, reading media alone in their basement and going crazy down rabbit trails
Yeah,
in their
they're
head.
already
That's
afraid.
going to be whipped
Right.
up even more so
Right.
by the past 3 months since March that we've all been sitting home alone.
So in this environment, he starts to really up the ante and really kind of get aggressively.
It takes
I don't
a
know the difference
turn.
really between the openly race. It sounds just like racism to me. His comments just seem like I'm making some racist comments, whatever my reasons are, and now I'm putting them out in public for you to read.
Yeah, it takes a turn, and some of it is, it might be like a dog whistle type thing,
Right.
to certain groups where you could probably say, "Oh, that's not racist on the face," but it justifies racism, and it sort of is a signal
right.
to like-minded individuals. So it did take a turn after the George Floyd murder, after the protests and the riots, which are two different things.
Right.
And I
Even though
live
they were
downtown.
conflated.
I wore my press badge and went down and observed the protests, which were different than what happened at night, which I also heard, for weeks, the blasts, the helicopters, all that. It happened at half mile from where I live. Two different things.
Right.
So after all this, it did take a turn. A couple people texted me screenshots in the middle of June saying, "Are you aware of this is happening on Facebook? It's a private page, but geez, can you believe it?" So I started to get text messages like, "Do you see this?" And I'm not friends with him on Facebook or anything, so I just said, "Wow, that's surprising." I mentioned it to my editor in June, middle of June, and the feeling at the time was, "Oh, that's distasteful." Probably not a national
Drive
news story.
distastefully.
That is not driving tastefully.
Good, Zuckerman.
That is
There you
not
go.
driving tastefully. But probably not a
Drive
national.
racistly.
Yeah, not a national news story at that
Right,
point.
right.
My editor is someone who lives in New York City who until recently didn't own a car. He's not a car
Right,
guy.
right.
So to try to explain to him, no, it's a big deal in the car world. It hadn't crossed over quite yet.
It's interesting. So, did your editor just not get the things that you guys are in this weird little cul-de-sac somewhere, this weird little corner? What are you people talking about?
Yeah.
This is irrelevant. This is three people standing in the parking lot.
Yeah, kind of.
Except-
It's that. Yeah.
Except that it's not. I mean,
not.
every day
Right.
we're seeing someone somewhere not wearing a mask or saying something stupid and getting fired the next day. This. Here's what this is. Jimmy the Greek. Remember Jimmy the Greek?
Of course.
What did Jimmy the Greek do?
Well,
he did this famous interview, right? Where he said that blacks were better athletes for all these reasons. Makes an incredibly racist remark out of the blue. How many years ago was that segment?
This is almost 25, 30 years
Right,
ago.
okay. And then he wants to go on the air that Sunday with CBS Sports and make it right. And they go, you're fired. You're done, right?
Because he was a man past his time. He
no,
was a
because
troglodyte
he's a
in that
man who
moment.
said something extremely
Yes.
racist on television.
Yes.
And everybody went, in this democracy, the people said, you know what? We don't want this anymore. We don't want it. Now, we all have a little broadcast studio in our hands. We have our little iPhones where any one of us can go on any given day and make these statements out in public that are akin to what Jimmy the Greek did
Yes.
way back then, the forefather of our racist stuff.
I want to put a couple things out there, and maybe Hannah will because
Yeah.
you're much more of a universalist than me. You're a reporter, but I notice a couple of things. One, car culture is kind of universalist. It's something that's supposed to bring us together. It democratizes. Everybody
Yes.
can go, as we've talked about, Spike, to the open hood of the car. It doesn't matter race, creed, color, socioeconomic status. We
Yes.
can all like the same thing. And I think that the whole notion of drive tastefully and what Afshin first did was to make this place where everybody was welcome. Yes, there was a little bit of a snob appeal to it, which is what we liked. It wasn't
Of
just
course.
cargo shorts and screwdrivers. So it was it just took it to a slightly nicer level, but still, it's about everybody's included.
Well, of course, and we have to give props to Petrolicious because
Yes.
in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, that was the car site doing really tasteful, beautiful coverage, beautiful videos, beautiful shots. And they were kind of the first to elevate these glowing, dreamy photos of your air-cooled Porsche. Right. I mean, truly, it was beautiful content. And Ted Gushu, everybody says he really pioneered what they
kudos
did.
to Gushu.
And they do deserve props for doing that completely. And the taste was great,
So who...
But I think that puts an expectation on him.
How many
course.
of people out there and here were waiting for the guy who runs Petrolicious to weigh in on Black Lives Matter?
Well,
Here's
that's
the
the difference.
stupidity part of it for me.
Yes.
You have a brand that people like. And in this day and age, Afrin is his name?
Yeah.
What kind of moron?
Afshin.
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 Oh,
What
boy.
kind of moron do you have to be, Afshin, to feel like you need to weigh in on a very provocative subject that nobody is asking for you to weigh in on?
I think
and
that's
you say,
the
it's a
difference.
private Facebook page.
Yeah.
Facebook is a public. You are
Forum.
broadcasting. Whenever you're texting, you're broadcasting in this
Yeah.
day and age. And if you've got a business, I think of WeatherTech right now. WeatherTech keeps getting called out because they, here's my entry point for them. IMSA Racing. A guy's got a great Porsche collection. What's his name?
Mr. Mom Jeans.
Mr. Mom Jeans.
Yes, that's the WeatherTech
Anyway-
guy. Is always in mom jeans in those.
Pleated?
Right?
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
yes, I
no.
swear to you. Yeah.
But, here's...
Extra comfort.
Yes.
I'll pull up his name right now. But, I'm watching these guys on the internet, Sleeping Giant, who kind of hold advertisers accountable for where they advertise. And they have these two white power hours on Fox News, the Ingram Show and the Tucker Carlson Show. It's what the white power hours, right? And at a certain point, they're getting in trouble. They get in trouble every week. They're losing all their sponsors because, believe it or not, these companies don't want to advertise
Believe it or not.
on those,
Believe it or not.
right? Yet, Sleeping Giants one day goes, hey, what the hell's going on with WeatherTech? And I notice it because I'm a car guy, and I go, hey, yeah, maybe it's, guys, tweet it out. Maybe it's time to rethink where you spend your ad money. Just silence, except a lot of DMs like, no, you don't know this guy. Here's his name right here. He's Dave McNeil's diehard Trump guy. He's not going to back off. He's not going to do anything. And you go, all right, well, that's fine. But I'm not going to buy your shit anymore. I'm not going to support you when you're supporting this piece of shit. It's complete nonsense.
You're going to be damned if you do and damned if you don't.
I want to know more about, let me get, we've digressed here a little bit, but I want to know more. So, now Afrin.
Okay.
Afshin. I could use some Afrin right now. That's why I keep saying it, because
And I want to know also about the process internally, how she gets this article done. Hannah.
Hold on. Okay. He makes a statement. So he sees this stuff going on.
It's bubbling up.
It's bubbling up.
You start to see there's a photographer who, Nikki Byrne, who had worked closely with Petrolicious. She actually puts a post on her social media platform that says she's not going to work. She's taking a stand because of those posts. She's not going to photo for Petrolicious anymore. And she had actually emailed Afshin and said, I'm trying to understand why you're putting this stuff up. Can we talk about it? Because I don't get it, and I want to have a dialogue with you. And she said, I spoke with her. She said that was not successful. So she puts a social media post, I'm not going to work with them anymore. We've got some alpha guys who put on Instagram, they don't want to associate with Petrolicious anymore. So it starts to bubble up. Then Afshin puts on the Petrolicious main page an apology statement. That's long and that gets a lot of attention.
Yes.
This was June 30th, I believe.
But wasn't this, from what I understand, because I hear things, before he apologized, he initially had a meeting at the company where he doubled down on his comments, and he basically said, my company, I do what the fuck I want, fuck everybody.
That's correct, and I asked him to confirm that, and he said that was right.
But his apology isn't really an apology, Zuckerman.
It's hollow.
It doesn't say the right things. He talks about his poorly worded statements on social media.
It's like saying, go fuck your mother. Oh, I was poorly worded.
I said that the wrong way.
That sounds like your defense. It's a poorly worded statement. Well, you're off, my friend. When I said your mother go fuck herself. But yeah, I'm looking through it, and it is long, but it doesn't quite address. He's trying, again, most people aren't writers like yourself, and they don't know how to arrange words in a way that are effective.
But he does own a media company.
I know, but
you would think
sincerity is not necessarily a matter of being able to write.
Education.
It's not sincerity. He just doesn't hit the mark he doesn't acknowledge what he did wrong, which is his views.
Sincerity.
His reviews were racist, and I shouldn't have written this thing, and I'm going to step back or whatever the hell it is. It seems like it's a standard letter that he could have Googled at this point. So but it doesn't work. Is my point, right?
There's a difference between saying, I'm sorry your feelings got hurt about what I said, and saying, I'm deeply sorry for what I said, and I recognize.
Right.
That's two slightly different things.
Well, very, very different. Particularly for anyone who's been to therapy.
Yes.
It's particularly like couples therapy and all of that.
Two different things.
Two different things.
So he apologizes.
Sort of.
Nobody buys it. Jalopnik picks it up. They're like, the guy who runs Petrolicious has said some racist things.
Yeah.
They have an article about it. And then, where do you jump in at this point? Has he already resigned?
No, I had started doing some phone calls before he posted that apology.
Right.
I got on the phone. I talked to Ted. I talked to somebody who was thinking about buying the company. I talked to Nikki Byrne, the photographer, and a few other ex-employees. I talked to a couple of freelancers who had yet to be paid for their freelance work. And so I had what was becoming a story. And I really explained it to my editor, like, look, this is part of the car world. Maybe it seems like a niche thing to the broader audience of normal people who aren't car obsessed, but the car world is made up of exactly this, which is little niche tribes that form a bigger tribe. That's what this is, and this is a very influential part of it. So we started working on that story. I called Afshin. I asked him about the apology statement, and I asked him about a bunch of other things. The fact that people weren't being paid, the fact that people claim they were mistreated, that sort of thing. And he was pretty forthright about it. And he mentioned at that time, too, that he was going to step down from the company and sell it.
It sounds like he was upset with himself. It sounds like
Yeah.
he realized he'd really stepped in it.
He realized he messed up big time. And multiple people told me, you know, this company was really a hobby for Afshin and Kika, his wife. It was never meant to be a business, really, and they didn't run it like a business. And I think that was part of the problem. You know, this is someone who's very wealthy, who has the means to put a lot of money into a passion project because, you know, he loves vintage Alfa Romeos. That's how this whole thing started. He came from the software, a tech startup background. So this was a passion project for him. It was kind of a company, but I'm not convinced it ever made money.
Right.
And Afshin declined to verify that with
But
me.
it has an audience.
Yeah, it has an audience.
If
for
people
sure.
are going to it, you know.
Yeah.
I thought I read like 200,000 or 300,000 unique subscriptions.
Yeah, in 2015.
In 2015.
And I think that, from what I can tell, that was probably the high point.
Right.
You know, a lot
That's
of guys
right around
I
the
talked
time
to,
they made that GTO video, the 250 GTO,
There
which
you
I
go.
consider the high point for Petrolicious.
I think it might have fallen off in recent years. I mean, how often did you guys wake up in the morning and check
Right.
Petrolicious.com as the first thing?
It stopped, and I have to say, and let me make clear that I've had encounters with Afshin. I've seen him maybe a dozen times in my life. Every encounter was friendly.
Of course. Yeah.
Every time I met with him, it was nice. We spoke. We chit-chatted a little bit. And so there was nothing overt about, like, it's incongruous that the public man I saw was very different than the internet man, which is not unusual, unfortunately, that people feel free.
I used to have a friendly relationship with Roger Ailes, so I know what you mean.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then
You want to hear about
Fascinating.
a statement like that?
yes, it's weird, huh?
Hey, how you doing, Roger? Good
Yeah,
to see
so, but I'm going to say that I must have met Ted around 2013. And the first time I met him, I just didn't get it. But then I didn't get anything about Instagram, right? You had to set my first Instagram up, remember?
Yeah, right.
I didn't even know what it was, and I was like, who's this kid? Why is he walking around with a camera? And what's he talking about? I did not give him a lot of, I just didn't get it. I didn't give it credence. And over the years, he's really impressed me, and I think that maybe he also, with his departure, a certain amount of the driving force left that company.
I agree with that. And I think for a time they were really a leader, and it's fallen off a bit, and it had in a few years. And, you know, Afshin told me he had been trying to sell for the past year. So the stepping down, he said, was prompted by this whole scandal, but the company had been for sale for the past 12 months.
So
which I think is an indicator to what you're talking about.
He's stepping down.
Yeah.
Who's running it now? What is it doing?
That's unclear.
It's unclear.
I spoke with his number 2 guy named Cheyenne, who, said it's very unclear about the future of the company. It's unclear who's still employed at Petrolicious, who isn't employed with Petrolicious. There's a lot of opaqueness right now.
Right. And there seems to be some sentiment out there, too, about do we now want to reward this guy by buying his company for stepping down as well?
Someone could really scoop it up for, let's hope, pennies on the dollar and buy the YouTube audience and completely gut it and bring it back as something else.
This is our move, Ferriston.
There you go.
I will be honest with you. I've talked to people about it years ago and tried to wrap my head around it years ago thinking about it, but wondered, isn't their best case scenario bring a trailer at this point?
Oh, man.
They're
Hearst.
I don't, like you said, I don't go there every day, nor do I think to go there any day because they don't really do it. I'm over the beautiful videos.
Right.
I've seen it. You have to evolve from there, and they're not selling cars, or at least as many cars as Bring a Trailer is doing.
That's also unclear. The last listing I saw on their marketplace was 2019. So
yeah.
That's also, yeah.
So I don't know how you would monetize it in a significant way where you'd go, oh, well, this is totally worth it at this point, right? That's where I kind of ended my kind of consideration. Not that I was going to be buying it, but I was talking to some people and thinking about what could you do with it. I don't know. I
There
never
is an
came
audience-
up
I
with
mean,
the idea.
There's massive brand recognition.
Right.
There's a YouTube channel
Yeah.
you could somehow organize.
Yeah,
Is
you
there-
could get
is there a
10-cent
price?
checks all week long.
No. You know, I've heard everything from $10 million to $5 million to $2 million. And I've talked with multiple people.
I can't imagine it's worth that much money. I really
If
can't.
you said to me $200,000, I'd say, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine?
Yeah, for
spending
$200,000, okay.
Okay, but
Yeah.
Definitely.
I would take $5 million and buy what? Air.
Yeah.
Right. It's not this.
Well, now you gotta now invest also in content.
It's
And,
yeah,
possible
major
too
turnaround.
that the price being asked is reflective of a 2015 level of influence and
Yes.
clout, and does not reflect the past month's events. And I think that is really wiped
Yeah,
out.
maybe.
I mean, there are no sponsors left associated with it, from what I can tell. I mean,
Right.
Turtle Wax, Chopard,
Yeah, they-
Haggerty,
all
Porsche
are.
have all said we'll never work with them again.
yeah.
You know, for Porsche to say that, it's pretty major.
Well, if they
That's a
have
lot
to,
of money
they
they
have
lost.
to.
Yeah.
And I would guess that our friends at WeatherTech are about to face the same fate at some
Yeah.
point, because they're look what happened to Tucker Carlson's head writer last week.
I know.
Posting openly racist stuff under an anonymous name, and then they find out it's him, his head writer, and he pretends
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
Crazy.
Oh, really?
It's
Because the thoughts he's communicating privately, he was writing into the show very covertly, just with not as openly. And this is a
Well-
guy he's working with every day, and they don't know the game. Please.
You know what the scary thing is? When people say, it's okay to have those thoughts privately, just don't share them publicly. As if that makes them okay to have. I mean, you shouldn't be having these thoughts, whether they're
It
private
does, though.
or public.
I don't
I
look. I
can't-
don't disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. Because I think people need to get honest with themselves about what they really believe, and I think they have to give voice to these racist thoughts that we all have, because we all have them if we examine closely. And I think that's where you begin to change. And you and I talked about that too. It's
Yeah.
like we've got to leave room for people to go, you know what, I fucked up, and you know what, I am a little racist, and you know what, I got to look
Hey,
at that.
No
and I
better,
better fix
do
it.
better.
Right.
No better,
That's
do
what
better.
Oprah says.
Because
no better,
we're not,
do better.
We're not going to get anywhere if we just hang everybody who makes racist statements or
true.
put them in the town square. We have to teach
There has to
them
be a
not
safe
to
ground.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
There
have
has
to
be
show
the-
them.
We have to say we're in transition.
Right.
Okay, I'm sure I've said fucked up shit about 100 different things I shouldn't have said in
Yes.
my life, and I'm in evolution, and I'm in transition. And
Well, look at all the words we used to use in high school towards the gay community, or the things you'd say about women. It's like culture changes and we change along with it, and
Right.
sometimes humans lag behind the culture, but you got to get there,
Like
and you
my
got to find a
grandfather
way.
Used to say, we used to say that all the time. Those words, and I would
Right,
say,
and
yeah,
now
but
you
it's
don't.
not-
Right.
Yeah, but
Now
you know
you
better
don't.
now, so we're
Right, and
going to
that's where
change.
people there's your beliefs, which you keep inside, and then there's reality, and the area in between can be a land of denial or transition.
Yes.
and you,
But I think keep your racist beliefs to yourself.
Yes, I have to disagree with that.
I think it's
mean,
important.
come
That's very
on.
funny. Yeah.
No, I agree with it. Keep them to yourself. We don't want if you put this stuff out there, you better be retired and self-sufficient because you're not going to work anymore. Just know that.
you should work on it too. You should
You know
work
what's
on yourself.
crazy to
and
me?
everything.
Speaking of the fact that it took until this year to ban Confederate flags at NASCAR.
Yes.
That's another thing that I'm just.
Well, history.
shocked.
I mean, I just don't think people are educated enough.
And people
to
don't realize
they don't
Confederate
understand.
flag, waving in the stands at
Yeah,
a
I
public.
know.
We would never be okay with a Confederate flag at a Bulls game, a Chicago Bulls game, or a Lakers game.
I know,
just
but
in
didn't
the
you just
stands.
go, well, oh, that's the NASCAR crowd. That's just
As
who
if
they
that
are.
makes it okay.
Yeah, like in
I mean-
Germany, if they had a swastika
Yes,
flag at
we
their,
would.
at their,
No one would put up, and it literally
was.
was last month that they finally outlawed
And
it.
I'll
I
tell
find
you why
that
I
shocking.
think it was okay. Because you didn't have a white supremacist in the White House. You didn't have a guy with a large bullhorn who was able to make it, and that's really, these people feel emboldened right now to come out and I think be openly racist because they've got someone they feel will protect them in the moment. And then reality intrudes and goes, no. We're
Yeah.
still here. Society's still here. And we're going to shut you down. And I think that's why it's happening right now over and over and over again. So the heat is turned up on everybody because of the White House situation.
Yeah.
Once that goes away and there's a reasonable human there, whoever that might be, who goes, this is not what America's about. All men are created equal. Perhaps you've heard of these things.
All humans.
All humans.
All men and women.
Men
I
and
would
women,
say.
right? And that needs to be changed as well.
Yeah.
But yes, then I think it's going to be a lot quieter than it is right now, rather than having a guy just stoking racial discord in this country.
Gas in the fire every day.
Yeah.
I'm excited that we're going through this, as weird as it sounds, because like you say, this is a transition. This is painful work and growth. And it's, hey, if it's going to be out there, let's get it all out there. Let's get it all out there. Let's find in our own hearts the corners of darkness that we need to grow from.
And let's give.
Let's do it. Let's do the work.
Let's give Afshin the opportunity to change.
And you know, I will say, when I spoke with him, it was not combative at all. I read him comments and statements that people had told me, and I said, I just want to give you a chance to respond. And he was not defensive. He didn't deny anything he said. He did try to justify it. Some of the things perhaps aren't justifiable, but he was not antagonistic.
Is he still part of the private clubhouse of ultra right wing racist guys on Facebook? Does that page still exist? Can you join?
I don't know about that. I didn't ask that.
Look, I got to tell you, and you probably know this, and Zuckerman, you do too. And then we're going to get on with this Bronco interview, but there's so many other guys like this. Yeah. I remember being at Pebble Beach, and I don't remember who it is, and I'm glad I don't remember, but they said, you got to get on so-and-so's newsletter. And I'm like, why? And he goes, you wouldn't believe the stuff he writes about, and it was just like, God, that guy?
Yeah.
And he's sending that out to a newsletter of, what? There's going to be a lot of painful change.
Yeah.
I think in the car community, and I agree. It's nice. I don't know. I'm really happy that it's coming from the younger generation. And
it has to. I mean, if it's
because for a long time the car community has been kind of a good old boys club.
Hey, look,
and it's changing.
I'll call out the Peterson Museum right now. Where are there people of color or women on any of their boards, on any of their panels, on any of their anything? It's literally white men, and I love white men. But come on, that doesn't reflect Los Angeles. That doesn't reflect car culture.
We got to get Willie T. Ribs on that board.
Boring.
That's what we got to do.
It's completely boring and stale.
Some of the lowrider guys, right? I mean, I will credit Peterson with having lowrider stuff there, but there have been times that communities in the car world have been seriously looked down upon because of association with people. Certain people liked lowriders or other kind of cars or whatever, and it was like, oh, that group, that group of guys, we don't deal with them.
Yeah,
they're not good guys. They're bad guys. That's wrong too.
Yeah, completely. Hey, we're all part of it.
All right. Yeah. Well, there's a new
world.
Bronco, ladies and gentlemen. Starts under $30,000.
To tell.
It gets a little pricey.
I have a question
about
that.
The pictures are up. Go ahead.
Bronco or Defender? New Defender.
I'm in the middle of that mess right now. You've got a 2-door Bronco. You got a 4-door version. You got pictures all over the internet. And
maybe we can tie you between a Bronco and a Defender and drive in opposite directions and see which way you get pulled.
This truck is probably one of the most anticipated vehicles, I think, that's been around for a while. Last week, Ford called me up and said, do you want to talk to the guy who designed it? His name is Dave Perikek, and here's our interview. And I will say this, not Ipecac, Zuckerman, Perikek. I used a new interface, Cisco WebEx, and so hopefully the audio is better. And if it is, let me know if it's a lot better than the Zoom interviews. All right, here is Dave Perikek. Dave, you're there.
Yeah, I had a hard time getting in.
That's all right. Let me make sure we're recording here. I'm using a new interface. Zoom makes everyone sound like they're in the bathtub. You sound pretty good so far.
Good.
Where are you calling us from?
Michigan.
From Michigan. What's it like in Michigan right now?
It's very hot in Michigan right now.
For a lot of different reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is the new Bronco has broken cover.
It
And
has.
this is your baby. You're really the guy at Ford who oversees all the cool stuff, the icon cars like the Mustang GT, the Bronco, and the Ford GT. Is it fair to say you're the Andreas Pruninger of Ford?
I don't know if I can claim that, but I do think it's pretty cool that I get to deal with all these really fantastic and special products for sure.
And you're an engineer. Are you in on the designing of them?
I am, yeah. So I am an engineer, and I do very heavily involved in the designing of them, not only the aesthetics, but also all the mechanics behind them as well. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's a really cool job.
Well, we're here today to talk about the Ford Bronco, probably one of the most anticipated vehicles of maybe the last 3 or 4 years. When did you announce this?
Oh, I don't know, Dan. I don't know. Did you know when we actually announced it? It was
Yeah,
several.
we announced we were bringing Bronco back January 2017.
Wow, we've got another guy here. This is fantastic. So, 2017 at the Detroit Auto Show, if I'm not mistaken. And your last Bronco that you made was
96.
1996. I'm reading here because I'm going through an article I found, which is everything we know so far about the Ford Bronco. And now we have the guy who can answer all of our questions, I hope, because we're a few days after the big debut, which was on the 13th of July. All right, well, let's just start with how did you approach remaking the Bronco? Because it's a very interesting creative concept, isn't it? To have a truck that you've loved, that's very iconic. I happen to be a fan of the older ones. To design something new that I don't know, makes you emotional about the old truck, yet I would guess has to be a totally new design and kind of pushes the whole Bronco design forward. It's a pretty difficult design. How did you approach making this new truck?
Yeah, I mean it's really a great question you're asking, and it is extremely difficult when you're trying to not live in the past, but leverage your history and celebrate those things that everyone did fall in love with and what made it iconic. But then, as you say, bring it into the future and make sure that you're bringing the latest technology and a lot of the latest design cues that are going to resonate with today's customers. And so it's a daunting task actually to find that balance. I believe we have done that. You'll see when you look at it, you've seen it, right? We unveiled it, so you've seen it, and it has a lot of the design cues of the old, but clearly in a modernized new way. And I think that when you see how we addressed a lot of the user experience with the truck and how we integrated that new technology, but still staying true to the roots of what a Bronco is, that's really the magic behind the machine.
Yeah. How do you design emotion? What are the pieces in there that I'm going to look at? Because just to be straight with the audience right now, we're recording this before the 13th reveal, and I've been holding on to this interview until today, so I haven't quite seen it. So when I sit behind the wheel of this truck, what am I going to see that's going to make me go, "Wow, I remember this"?
Well, when you first see its exterior, you're going to say, wow, I remember this, because it has a lot of design cues, starting with the iconic grille and some of the surface language that's going on the fenders and things like that, it's going to really resonate with you that this is a Bronco. There's no question in your mind as to whether or not it's a Bronco, but it's done in a very modern way. It's not looking at this from a retro perspective, but it is very cool, very modern. Yet so familiar to you. So you'll know it's a Bronco, and your heart's going to start to pound as soon as you see the exterior. As you climb on the interior, you're going to have that very familiar feel of a very rectangular kind of instrument panel in front of you. But it's going to, so that'll look and feel like the old Broncos that you mentioned that you like. But you're going to all of a sudden start to see how the integration of the technology has really come in and really mixed quite well. So whether it's the 12-inch screen in the center that carries our latest sync system and all of the great technology that comes with that, or whether it's we call them hero switches, but a lot of the switches that you see up on the instrument panel or even on the steering wheel that are actually not normal switches, they're actually covered in a rubber so that they are water resistant, because we know that people are going to get in and out of their Broncos after having gone through mud and water and all kind of stuff. We've got marine grade vinyl on the interior so that that's water resistant as well. So you're going to see this this mixture of the new and the old in a way, again, that looks very familiar but very fresh.
And I guess that's why you're saying that it's a no compromise mid-size 4x4 utility for thrill seekers who want to venture way beyond the city.
Well, I think that's what's special about the Bronco. A lot of people say, hey, aren't there too many SUVs in the market, or why is now the right time? Look, SUVs are the most popular. I mean, look, in 2019, SUV sales were the highest they've ever been. This is what people want. But what we're bringing to market is something fresh and new, and a way to raise that chinning bar and really show you what off-road adventure is all about, and breaking through those barriers and getting out into the wild and doing whatever you want to do. The Bronco's ready to do it. I mean, the original code name for the Bronco, you may know this if you're looking at your facts there, that it was codenamed GOAT, or goes over any terrain. And that was back in 1966.
Wow.
That was the vision for it. And it really set the chinning bar as to what SUV off-road vehicles should be. And today, when you look at the new one, we actually have several modes and drive modes in the vehicle that we call GOAT modes. And we call them GOAT modes because the suspension system and all of the systems in the vehicle have been set up to be able to take you anywhere from rock crawling to mud to sand, high speed off-road running. And this vehicle is going to do it all for you.
And so, okay, so I'm your customer right now. I'm a guy who's driving a Range Rover Sport, and I have a 12-year-old son and a 10-year-old son who now want an off-roader that we can throw a rack on and throw our canoe on it and go out and go canoeing. When I go to the site, which I'm guessing the site is live right now, right? I think you can make a $100 deposit.
You can, yeah.
Okay, yep. And what does that get you, first of all? Does that get you a spot? Does that guarantee you a truck, or the opportunity down the line to possibly get a truck?
Well, it gets you a reservation. You're going to have to complete the actually getting the truck and closing the deal with a dealer. But okay. It does get you in line to have a reservation to be able to get a truck for sure.
And I can do that right now after this interview.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
You're going to want to do that because you told me you want to go canoeing, and we've got some solutions for you, pal.
Yeah, that's well, again, because we're in the future, and I haven't seen your site yet. Is there something there now? Like what are the different variations? Let's start with, your build your own. Well, what are the engines? What are my engine that I can get for this? Is that how it starts, or are there 2 doors and 4 doors offered? What do you say?
Let's start at a little bit higher level around the family of Broncos that we've introduced now. So in the past, the Bronco only came in a 2-door version, but for the first time now, we're introducing a 4-door version into the Bronco lineup. Something that we know our customers are going to want. People want 4 doors. Now, we obviously wouldn't have brought the Bronco back without doing a 2-door, and the 2-door is super cool. But we know that there's a lot of people that are going to want a 4-door. So for the first time ever, there is a 4-door Bronco now. That would be your full-size Bronco, offered both in 2 and 4-door. And as part of the family, though, we're also introducing the Bronco Sport. And so the Bronco Sport is a little bit smaller version, but it is as off-road capable as all of the Broncos. It has to be, otherwise it wouldn't be a Bronco. 4x4 is standard on all of our Broncos, including the Bronco Sport. And the Bronco Sport, while not being a body-on-frame vehicle, it's a unibody, is extremely capable off-road. And I think we're going to surprise a lot of people with that product, as well as the others. And so that's, at the high level, some choices that you have to start with.
Okay. Engines?
Yeah, so on the 2-door and 4-door versions of the Bronco, you get a choice of a 2.3 liter or a 2.7 liter EcoBoost engine. So 2.3 being a 4-cylinder and 2.7 being a 6-cylinder. Mm-hmm. The 6-cylinder has about 310 horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque. You do have a choice of transmission between manual and auto. The manual transmission comes with the 2.3 liter only, and it is basically a 7-speed, but it's really 6 plus 1, meaning the plus 1 is the crawler gear.
Okay.
So that's going to really allow you to traverse all of the rocks that you're gonna encounter as you're getting to your stream where you're going to canoe.
And where have we seen this motor in the Ford lineup, if anywhere? Is it in an F-150? Is it available anywhere else, or is this brand new?
Yeah, no, these engines are in other products for sure. I'd have to check exactly where. I don't want to misquote where they're residing currently in some of the other products. But yes, these are not brand new motors, but they are motors that are proven and that we know are very durable and will do a great job in the Bronco. You have a 10-speed automatic transmission that you can also select.
Mm-hmm.
It's available on both 2.3 and 2.7 liter. And then we've got two different transfer cases. So you can either have your electronic shift on the fly, or you can move up to an electromechanical transfer case, which allows you to fully lock your axles and really get the most out of it. So there's tons and tons of options here as we go forward on how you might want to fit your Bronco. From a chassis perspective, you've got independent rear suspension independent front suspension and a 5-link rear suspension. And that independent front suspension is really important because, as I said earlier, this is going to be anything from a rock crawler to a very high-speed off-road capable product. And when you're going high-speed off-road, you really don't want a solid front axle up front. You really do want that independent front suspension. But we haven't compromised our rock crawling ability. The vehicle is extremely capable at rock crawling. And to that point, we've got really cool technology, Spike, on some of this stuff. Like, for instance, we have a stabilizer bar disconnect. So let's say you're traversing some pretty rough ground and you want to get a little more articulation out of your suspension. You can push a button. It'll disconnect that stabilizer bar, allow the suspension to articulate more. And then once you get through the terrain that you're going through, you start to come up to speed. The system is very smart. It'll reconnect the stabilizer bar for you and give you that stability.
Wow. This is great. What about now canoe racks? Did I canoe racks anywhere?
I'm glad you brought that up. So I want to talk to you about the open air and some of the cool things that we've done. But before we get there,
okay.
Yes, clearly roof racks on the Bronco will have plenty for you to choose from. But why I wanted to talk to you about the canoeing is because when you see the design, you will see that on the hood up front in the corners,
Mm-hmm.
there are two features, one on each side, obviously, that have they're trail sights. So they actually help mark the corner of the vehicle as you're going through trails, but they're not just trail sights. We actually made them tie downs for things like canoes. So they are structural. They're not just there for aesthetics. They are actually structural to where you can tie your canoe down and put a load on them and really bring your canoe with you wherever you want to go. So that's just one example of where we've really thought through how people are going to use this machine and really giving them the honest tie downs and things like that versus having people tying the stuff that they shouldn't be tying to.
Wow. Yeah, very useful. I don't want to have to work. I want to have the tie, the ropes, and then just tie it right to the truck and get moving. Now,
exactly.
It begs the question now, because I like high performance things. Is there going to be an ST version? Is there going to be an R version?
Well, listen, we are right now just talking about the three vehicle lineup. So that's all. I don't speculate on future products.
You're laughing. Tells me everything I need to know. Because, you want to see this thing out in Baja, don't you? You want to see this. I would imagine everybody's champing at the bit now to turn this into an off-road racer.
Oh, absolutely. We expect that people will absolutely be doing that. And in fact, we as a company already ran it in Baja. And we'll be doing more of that, and even inclusive of King of the Hammer. So we're engaging with that as well as a company. But clearly, our customers are going to be doing that for sure.
Wow, well, this is amazing. I'm excited about this because I think my feeling is the Land Rover Defender was the first guy to get out there, and they're kind of in the same boat, but. Those trucks are hard to get right now, and they stopped making them. And this is, these are two iconic vehicles from the past that I love now coming out side by side. And I think it's going to make a lot of people stop and think. And, what do I get? Right? It's a really tough choice. And they're both such beautiful vehicles. But that Bronco. The Bronco just really stands out. It's just so iconic and so beautiful, and I think you guys really nailed the exterior design of the truck. How many are you gonna make? You must be getting ready to make a ton of these things.
As many as we can.
That's how it works.
Yeah. But one of the things that I want to make sure your listeners understand is so this truck is not only beautiful on the exterior, and I appreciate your comments on that, but it really is going to be so useful. You said yourself, I don't want to have to work. I just want to go ahead.
Right.
Let's just talk about taking the doors off, for instance. So clearly everyone expects the doors are going to come off, and they do, but they come off in such an easy way. We've thought through how easy it is to get them off, to unbolt them. How easy it is to make your electrical disconnect so that because you've got switches and things in the doors, right? And you got to make your electrical. Right. So how easy we've made that. The doors are frameless so that you don't have that metal frame that the glass would tuck into up, top. And the reason that we did that, check this out, Spike. So this is nothing that the competition can do. On a 4-door Bronco, you can decide in the morning that you want your doors off, and you can now store them on board in the back of the Bronco and take them with you. So that if you get to your location and now you need to put them back on, they're with you and you put them on. You no longer have to make that decision, of leaving them at home. That's great. Yeah, or chaining them to a tree or whatever people do because they can't bring their doors with them.
Well, I want to know how that works. So I get in the morning, and the kids and I say, you know what? Let's take the doors off the Bronco. So talk me through how I take one of my doors off.
So what you're going to do is you roll your window down. So now. When the glass goes down, now the only thing you're left with is your actual door body. You don't really have that big hoop over the top anymore.
Okay.
Now you're going to take a bag that we have for you, and you're going to slide it over that door. You're going to remove some bolts. Very simple though to remove your bolts. And then we've got this really cool quick disconnect electrical connector that when you disconnect it, there's a little door that also closes and seals it off so that dust and grime and whatnot doesn't get into what's left on the body of the car. And then you literally take this bag now, and we've molded in even a handle on the bottom side of the door, and you literally going to be able to lift this door right off the truck. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to then take that door and you're going to put it in the back of the Bronco. And then you're going to do that 3 more times, obviously, and you're going to have all 4 doors now behind you and your children as you guys bomb down the road to go wherever you're going. And then
and so they stack up neatly like church chairs almost, you're saying.
They do. That's correct.
And it's very much like an old Porsche Targa. I have an 82 Targa, and the front boot is designed to take that top and you put it in the front, and that's exactly what you want to do. You don't want to leave stuff in the garage. You want to bring it with you so you can use it when you need to use it.
Exactly. And then here's the other cool thing.
Well, that's a nifty trick.
Since you're with your kids and you obviously want to keep them safe, when you take your doors off, your mirrors, your side mirrors, stay on the truck. They don't go with the doors. Now you still can see behind you when your doors are off. And if you look at the competition, when you take the doors off, the mirrors go with them.
Right.
So there's just a lot of us thinking through how you're going to do this. Now,
well, that's pretty slick.
Yeah. The other thing that we have is we have air curtains, side air curtains in this truck. So even when your doors are off, you've got some protection on the side if you were to have an accident or something, because we've got
up above.
Yeah, they're above. Yep. And then when we talk about the open air, this is where it gets really cool. You've probably not seen the vehicle without its top on.
No.
Yeah, well, here's the deal. So you can take, here's the process of getting your top off. You can take the panel that's over the driver's head off and a panel that's over the passenger's head. You can then take the second row panel off. So now you can expose all your occupants now to open air and still keep your back cab on.
Wow.
Or you can obviously then take the back cab off and you can now open it fully up. Now, there's 2 things to that. One, that back cab that I just mentioned to you is much smaller now and more manageable. If you've taken the cab off of some of the competition, it can be unwielding. It's a bit heavy and it's a bit awkward. This is going to make that whole process a lot easier. And then when you do get it all off, you have nothing obstructing your view. It is wide open. If you look at if you look at the competition, they will have what's called a B-bow. It's a steel beam that goes between your 2 doors from one side of the truck to the other. If you're sitting in the back, you're staring right at that beam. It's right in your face, actually. In the Bronco, none of that exists. It's all gone. It's wide open.
Wow.
So there's a lot to this, man. Yeah, we've spent a lot of time to really think about how to execute this truck in a way that we know is going to make people really enjoy it and make it easy for them to enjoy.
Yeah, and just have fun. Now, does it come with a toolkit? When you say that I'm taking some bolts off, it does. I can just take my Bronco toolkit and do all of this.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Wow. I think you may have just sold a Bronco.
Good.
This is very exciting. I love the way you've thought about all of these little moments because in truth, and you've driven a lot of vehicles, as have I, these little moments matter. When you get into a car and your phone connects with the infotainment system instantly, those are the little moments. When you want to take off your doors and you open up your toolkit, I mean, who doesn't want to do that? Who doesn't want to be that hero dad? Removing doors and putting them in sleeves and then loading it up in the back of the truck. Come on, that's the greatest. This is very exciting.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And we internal to Ford, we talk about these moments that matter because we understand that these are the things, as you say, that really make it special and make it unique. And really, at the end of the day, if we can make Dad look and feel like a hero, then we've done our job.
Well, you sound like you've done your job. Before I let you go, I want to ask you about the Ford GT, if I might.
Okay, go ahead.
Part of the application process involved an essay. Are you the man who graded the essays?
So I was clearly ahead of the team that had to read all those essays.
Oh, you did? How many? Come on, honestly, how many essays did you read?
Hey, I will tell you what. In all honesty, we had people that were dedicated to do nothing but go through them, watch every video that was submitted, and really put them, because look, we didn't just do that application process willy-nilly. That was really important that we treated everyone fairly. Mm-hmm. We wanted to make sure that the GTs got into the hands of those that were going to truly honor the vehicle and respect it for what it is, and we didn't want it being flipped, by somebody who just bought it and then turned around and sold it. And we wanted people that were going to show it, people that were going to care for it in the way that was meant to be cared for and drive it. And so we really wanted to make sure, to the best of our ability, that we got it into the right hands of people.
Wow. Well, what was the worst essay you remember reading?
Oh my God. It's been a little while. I don't know, but I will tell you, some of them were pretty interesting.
I'm sure people were clever and, maybe just wrote Ford GT 1,000 times on a piece of paper. I'm sure it was like a college essay where everybody was trying to get your attention.
Oh, they were, for sure. And then they were calling to follow up to see if we watched it yet. But it was funny because you had everybody from those who were loyal GT owners and or fans for a very long period of time. And so their essays and videos were obviously pretty easy for them to write and were pretty interesting for us to read or watch. And then you had other people who really had nothing to do with the GT ever, and they just wanted the new one. And you could see it. You could see it in their desperation, in their video and in their letter. So, it was fun. It was fun.
So, is there what's coming up? What are you working on now? Are there things you're working on now? Anything you can tell us? Some exciting things coming down the line?
Spike, I'm just sitting in my backyard, staring at the,
That's it.
Hey, listen, icons, man. We're always on fire. We're bringing new stuff all the time. And I think the good news is that even in the times of when things get a little tough, even like in the times we're living in now with COVID and some of the challenges that everyone is facing, the company is 100% dedicated to making sure that we've got the right product cycle and that we are bringing the right products, to market. And I'm so thankful for working at Ford and having that level of commitment, because it makes my job easy when we have that kind of commitment. But more importantly, it just shows the commitment of the company to our customers that, we're not stopping. I mean, we just unveiled the Mach 1. We've got more news coming on, the Mach E with the GT version of it. And so there's just a lot of cool things happening.
Well, there you go. And this is the guy to talk to, Dave Perkak. The Bronco's a big hit. Congratulations. I can't wait to get behind the wheel. As soon as we hang up, I'm going to harass your PR team for a press drive.
Do that. Let me know if you need my help, man.
And next time you're in LA and when we're all vaccinated, come into the studio and we can have you here in person. Love to chat with you again. All right.
Let's do it.
Nice to meet you, David.
Nice to meet you. Thanks.
All right, that's all the show we have. Good interview, though, huh? We learned a lot about the Bronco.
Yes.
Are you excited about the Bronco?
I do want one, and I do want a Defender. I want everything.
Did you see the Bronco with a hole in the door that you can put your hand through?
For what purpose?
I don't know. It's a weird...
Feel the air.
To wave at people next to you through the door.
It does look really cool, though. The way you can just take all the doors off with a single bolt using their toolkit and take the roof panels off and just fly around. There's a little drain plug we didn't get to that in the interview. And the bottom, there's a drain plug inside the car so you can hose it out.
It's cool.
Isn't that what about? Was it Matthew McConaughey's brother? Or
Yes.
in
Oh,
the
good
van?
memory, Zuckerman. No, it was Matthew McConaughey.
You know this story?
No.
Talk
What
about
is
a
it?
drain hole. Explain.
Well, it's a Hollywood legend story that no one knows if it's true or if it's not. But the story goes that Matthew McConaughey would drive around Hollywood in the early days with a funnel and a long tube and a hole in the floor so he could drink beer and pee through the funnel, and the pee would go out the bottom of the van.
And yes.
You're smiling like you know it's true.
I'm not just
You're smiling like you
These
know
are
it's true.
one of the stories you would hear
Wow.
when you first moved to L.A. and
If
you go, you know
anyone-
about Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, he seems like the type.
Yeah.
I mean, in
Exactly.
his day.
Yeah.
The
In
other
his
one
day.
you would hear is, well, keep your girlfriend away from James Woods. And I would go, the actor? He goes, yeah, he's after all the young girls. That was
And
another
that was true,
story
too.
you would hear. I don't know if it's true
I mean,
or
is
if
that
it was not.
wrong?
Huh?
Is that wrong?
To
You
do
know,
that?
he's a
The way he
young
did
man.
it?
Yeah, he was
It's all in
really
approach.
old.
It's
More-
all in context,
Okay,
right?
more
Everything's
about the
in
bedside
context.
manner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
I mean, you got to
and
give him a fair shot.
Pauly Shore was another one. You got to watch your girls around Pauly Shore.
Well, that one I could see.
Yeah, it was fun. So let's just say the Matthew McConaughey rumor is true. Let's have him on the show to either
Oh,
confirm
yes.
or deny. We didn't we have Rooster?
You had his brother. You had Rooster. You had his brother.
And didn't he confirm it?
Yes.
He did. So it is
Yeah.
true.
Rooster was on the show and I think that van still exists. They have it, right?
Yes.
It's a show that must have been show number 11 out of 160 some odd.
It could be
Yeah.
that long that I don't even remember it. Well, anyway,
Poor Ferriston.
Hannah, thank you for coming on.
Thank
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for writing this article.
Important stuff.
Yeah, it's important. And Afshin, thank you for letting me call you Afrin.
2 or 3 times. And I can't say Epicac, but you can say Afrin. You cut my Epicac.
You understand
comments.
how it works now? Yeah. I can do whatever I want on Spike's Car Radio, and you can't. and that's it. I think we have David Gooding next week, who's going to tell us about the auction biz, but I might be wrong about that. It might be in 2 weeks. If not, be happy, be healthy, wear your damn mask. If you're in town, come by our Cars and Coffee on Sunday, 8 to 10 at the Malibu Country Kitchen. Just don't expect any food because Bill doesn't know how to monetize it yet. We'll see you next week on Spike's Car Radio.
Thanks for listening to Spike's Car Radio, brought to you by Hangar 56. Listen to new episodes every Wednesday, and be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.